Hello everyone, this is Mr. Henry once again, um, helping you with this video lecture. We are, for this lecture, this lesson, we're going to be talking about the Enlightenment. This is your third topic for the week on the Intro to Revolutions. So please make sure you have downloaded the Enlightenment handout or printed it out, because um, that is what we'll be working with for this period. Hopefully everyone's doing okay. I'm doing great. Thanks for asking, even though you didn't ask. But y'all know me, built differently, different breed. But let's go ahead and get started. So please make sure you're looking at your Enlightenment handout. So to start off with, just simply what is the Enlightenment? It pops up around the 1600s in that period. And in that time, people realized that they could use reason to solve all of their problems. And it's heavily connected to the scientific revolution, where they took reason and logic and experiments and used that to explore and understand the natural world. But in the Enlightenment, they took those various things and thought, could we use it to solve all the issues that people have in their society and in government? And it really focuses on philosophers who begin to use reason to try to solve all like man's problems. Um, I thought basically if you're having a problem, you can reason it out. You shouldn't react with violence or anything like that, or any absurd notions. You should be able to reason out your problems and solve that problem. So basically, 1600s, that time period, pushed forward by philosophers who thought they could use reason and logic to solve all of society's problems, especially with those involving governing or government. And so we're going to be focusing heavily on the philosophers because they played the biggest role. And our first philosopher, if you are following along with your Enlightenment handout, is John Locke, who wrote the book Two Treatises on Government, or Two Treatises of Government. And basically, John Locke focuses on really one thing: natural rights. And to him, natural rights are life, liberty, and property, which hopefully, if you know a little bit about your country, is very similar to what we call inalienable rights, which are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Oh my God, what a connection, right? Now, I hear often a lot of my students say, whoever taught them in middle school that Locke equals love. I don't know where they got that crap from, because I've never heard that in my X amount of years of life. I'm not telling you people how old I am. Um, I've always heard Locke equals natural rights. I don't know where you guys get Locke equals love, because their teacher's wrong. There's nothing about love. Humans have natural rights. But Locke also supported the fact that in order to have natural rights protected, humans have to give up certain freedoms to the government. And if the government does not protect those rights, citizens can overthrow it. And if you look at, I believe, the Declaration of Independence, or either the first or the preamble of the Constitution, I can't remember which one, but all men are created equal. We hold these truths to be self-evident: all men are created equal, and they have been bestowed upon the Creator certain inalienable rights, life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And it is to these means that the government must protect these rights, or you have the right to alter and abolish our government. And this is the cornerstone of modern democracy, especially for our country. Basically, you have certain rights that you were born with. These are natural or inalienable rights, and it's the government's job to protect those rights. And if you feel that they are not protected, you can overthrow the government. And in our modern world, by overthrow, we mean, of course, you can alter the government, which is what you do through voting. And let's move to our second. Our second philosopher is Jean-Jacques Rousseau, or Jean-Jacques Rousseau. I just like to call him Jean-Jacques because he's dead and he can't stop me. Now, his book is known as The Social Contract. Now, I've always been taught that Rousseau believed that man was born good. You are all born perfect little angels, and it is society that corrupts you. Society alters your makeup and turns you into the heathen demon child that you are now, who harasses your teachers and your parents on a regular basis. Um, he also has an idea known as a social contract, where humans create a social contract with the government to protect themselves. A social contract is the view that a person's moral and political obligations are dependent upon an agreement among them to form the society in which they live. Something else you should know about Rousseau that's also important is that he is a very big supporter and proponent of equality. Basically, any form of inequality to him is bad. And because of that, he is also a bit of a supporter of a direct democracy. Okay? And moving on to our third, Baron de Montesquieu. Ah, yes, good old Baron de Montesquieu, who wrote the book The Spirit of Laws. Now, Baron's main ideas are centered on the idea of the separation of powers. He believes too much power in one place is dangerous for others. Basically, if all power is centered in one point, it will corrupt that person, which is understandable. I can't say if I had all the power in the world, would I be corrupt? Most likely. But most governments now have the separation of powers between branches of government. And we have some examples. In England's government, you have the king who enforced the laws, parliament who made the laws, and the judges who interpreted the law. If you look at our US government, there's the executive, which enforces the laws, the president, executive branch, the legislative, which is Congress, who make laws, and then judicial branch, Supreme Court, who interpret laws. So from Baron de Montesquieu, the idea of separation of powers and the idea of a branch style, branches of government, which, remember, we can take that all the way back to the Romans and the Roman Republic. That connection of history, how 1600s all the way back to, 300 BC, the Republic, to 1600s. Now there's still this idea of branches and separation of powers. So it's amazing. And our next philosopher is good old Thomas Hobbes, who is one of my favorites, and he's also a bit of a maverick because he's so much different than the others. He wrote a book known as Leviathan, and if anyone knows what Leviathan is, it is basically a giant sea serpent or a sea dragon or a sea monster, and he believes that that is what a leader needs to be. They need to be a Leviathan, something that can scare the people into order. He believed that people are naturally evil, and you are naturally inclined to do the wrong thing or to harm others, and that you need a strong leader who can basically scare you straight and provide safety and order and absolute monarchy. So he was very much different from the other philosophers who believed in giving kind of more power to the people, to the citizens, or even weakening the government in some fashion. He believed in a very strong central government and absolute monarchy. And we'll get into absolute monarchies next week. But the reason why he had this view of mankind is because he grew up during the English Civil War. And as we all know, during wars, people die, there are war crimes committed. It is not a very good time. So that kind of warps his view of mankind and view them as naturally evil. And he believes that you need a strong leader to break them into shape, to set them right. And he has an idea also known as the social contract, where you give up rights and you get peace and safety. So maybe you lose your freedom of religion, but you don't have to worry about someone stabbing you when you walk down the street. You lose your freedom of speech, but no one can bust into your house and rob you anytime they want to. Things like that. And our fifth is Mary Wollstonecraft, Miss Wollstonecraft, who wrote a book, A Vindication of the Rights of Woman. Foxy lady right there. But she is an advocate for women's rights in all forms. She believed men and women are equal and they deserve equal rights. And one of the key ways to provide equal rights between men and women is to originally provide them an equal education. And at this time, men and women were not educated to the same degree. Women did receive an education, especially if they were nobles. They received some form of education, but even then, it was not to the same degree that their male counterparts would receive. So she was kind of at the forefront of the idea of women's rights. And next up is Voltaire, whose real name was Francois Marie Arouet, who wrote the book Candide. And Voltaire is also one of my favorites. He was a big supporter of freedom of speech and freedom of religion, and he often battled injustice by criticizing the nobility, the government, and the church. And because he criticized them, that is why he went by the name Voltaire, which was his nom de plume, or his stage name, or his alias, or his street name, if we're going to keep it real. You can't go around insulting the major power structures of the world and just run around with your real name. It's going to come back to bite you. He also was a funny story. He had to go into hiding for an extended period of time because he was kind of a ghostwriter for a French noble. He would write poems for the man. The man would take credit for it. And then one time, Voltaire came out and said basically, like, this dude's poems are trash. I've been doing all the writing. And so he had to go into hiding because the guy kind of put a hit out on him. It's real out here. It's real. It's real out here. But that is it for the notes. Now you should moving on to the activity, which is the major ideas of the Enlightenment. It's pretty much just matching. You'll match the quotes, the ideas, and the impacts um, with the Enlightenment thinkers. Um, so on page 2, you should see all the quotes. First quote is, "Without government, there will be war of every man against every man." And then on the third page, you'll see the Enlightenment thinkers, starting with Hobbes. And you should also answer the questions. First question is, which quote do you think is most important to our country? Why? Or to your country? And why? And you should answer those in complete sentences, of course. Make sure if you are writing, you're writing with legible handwriting. If you're typing, typing in complete sentences and doing it to the best of your ability. But with that said, please keep on trucking and we'll just go from there. Have a good day.